Hello, everybody. I am here with my friend, Dr. Tommaso Zillio, and today we're going to discuss with you how to use harmony, or this is basically a songwriter's guide to harmony. And when I say we're going to discuss, of course, I mean the doctor is going to discuss mostly everything here today. Now, before we begin, I want to welcome everybody who's here. Let us know who you are and where you're from in the chat. We'd love to find out. Just know who's here live and who we're talking to and who's hanging out. So just let us know there. Also, we will be taking questions probably towards the end. But if you have questions about the specific topic of today, things you hear that you want clarification on or more details on, please let us know in the chat as we go along. And we will get through as many questions as we can in the time that we have. All right. So for those of you who don't know, and I'm sure you all do know because he's a pretty famous guy now, Dr. Tommaso Zillio is here. Welcome, Tommaso. I want to talk
Hello,
to you.
Tomas. Hello, Internet. So nice to meet you all.
I want to talk to you about how songwriters can use a deeper understanding of harmony and how chords work to find many innovative ideas to write better songs. Very often musicians tend to think of music theory as well theoretical instead of practical. And as you know, as well as anyone, music theory opens up doors to create interesting music in a very practical sense. And today I'd like to explore this as sort of a songwriter's guide to harmony. So with that, I know I left it wide open here for you, but if you'd like to discuss from that perspective, I'm sure this would be very valuable. Before you do that, let's just say hello real quick. We have Suzanne from Maryland, Jace from Illinois, Jamil from Florida. I'm not sure who Boulder Guitar Coach is, but hello. Oh, there we go. Wayne Daniels. I didn't see that real quick. Hey, Wayne. I'm not sure how to pronounce the next name. Udayan? Sorry if I've got it wrong. Bob is here from Illinois. Prashwant, I hope I'm pronouncing your name, from India. Hello. Jordan from Canada. Jordan, Mr. Brousseau. Morton from Norway. Joe from Austria. Duster722 from Canada. All right. So welcome to everybody who is here, but who hasn't typed in. All right, Doctor, take it away.
So the idea is this, is that, first of all, songwriters have a very strange relationship with music theory, and rightly so, because music theory is taught usually in a very academic way. You go to university, they go step by step, like it's mathematics or calculus, like start from the beginning and build up little by little. So there are two schools of thought here on what songwriters should do. The first one is learn all your theories, sit down and spend years learning the whole thing and don't write anything in the meantime. The other one is, but after all, any two chords will sound good if you play any two random chords to take. If you play them one after another and you play them a few times, they will sound good. So why not? Why not just take two chords and play them? The thing is that both those ideas, well, right now, all of you are expecting me to say that both of those ideas are wrong. But I'm going to say that both of those ideas are right, but misleading. Okay? It is perfectly correct that you want to learn more about music theory to write better songs, and then it will take some time to learn it. It is not right to say that you should not write song in the meantime, by the way. As the moment you learn something new, you should write something with that, a song or a piece of music with that. But we're going to go back to that later. The other thing is that it is perfectly correct that whatever two chords you put together, they're going to sound good. I mean, try me, okay? You take any two chords in any, and it doesn't matter if they're in the same key or not. It doesn't matter if they're triad, seventh chords, 9 complex chords, etc., and you play them one after another and repeat them a few times. If you voice lead them properly, that's a bit tricky, but if you do that, they will sound good. The problem is when you want to write the next chord. to the third chord of the song, then you have to stay in style with the previous two chords. Okay, you cannot just put a random third chord. That will not sound good. Those first two chords establish a mood, establish a feeling or a style, and you cannot just go randomly after that. So you need theory to understand what's going on. Okay, now this seems all terribly complicated, but it's not. Okay, absolutely not. So where do we start? We start from the easy stuff. Okay, now most of you will know about the diatonic chords, which is a fancy word, diatonic, okay, which means something very simple. Okay, you have a scale or a key, say C major, okay, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. The notes are C, D, E, F, G, A, B, the alphabet, okay? All the chords that fit into this scale are the diatonic chords of C major. So the C major chord contains the notes C, E, G. In the C major scale, I have the notes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, so I have C, E, and G. The chord fits in the scale. That chord is diatonic to C major. That's what we say, okay? Same happens for D minor. D minor is D, F, A. All those notes are inside the C major scale, so D minor is diatonic to C major, okay? The C major key. D major, for instance, will not, because D major will have the notes D, F sharp, and A, and C major, the C major key, does not have the F sharp note. So D major is not diatonic to the C major key. Okay, so that's, of course, at this point, you need to be able to spell your chords, etc., etc. For some of you, that's already a jump. For some other, it's easy. Honestly, guys, it's not that hard, okay? I do have a whole playlist that I can post actually about how to learn theory from zero. So if what I said right now is already above your head, which could be, and there is no problem if it is, I have a playlist for that. I'm gonna ask Tommaso if he can post it in just a second. Okay, let me see if because the chat is not, probably I cannot post it in the chat. Tommaso, I just put something in the private chat. If you can repost this to the chat and see if it works. Okay, that's a playlist. There we go. We can do it. Okay, so if you guys get don't watch it right now. Put the link away from later, okay? But that playlist will take you from complete zero on music theory up to a decent level, okay? When you can understand what a chord is, what a scale is, and how they fit together, and a few other things, okay? If that's already clear, fantastic, no problem. Thing is, the first thing we do is to write songs with diatonic chords. So, for instance, in the key of C major, I have 6 usable triads, okay? You can write them down if you want, okay? I have C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, and A minor. Say that again, C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor. There will be another triad, which is the B diminished, but that's a bit more iffy. We're going to see it later, maybe. So the idea is this. To write a song in C major, you need to follow 2 simple rules, okay? The rules are not there to constrain you. The rules are there to help you sound good. The first rule is start and end with C major. The second rule is then do whatever the heck you want, okay? So you can use just one of those chords, all those chords, in any order, they will sound good, okay? Indeed, one thing I recommend to you guys try at least once in your life is grab a dice, a 6-sided dice, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, throw the dice a few times. 1 is C major, 2 is D minor, 3 is E minor, 4 is F major, 5 is G major, 6 is A minor. Throw it a few times and you create a random chord progression. All those random chord progressions sound good, okay? I'm gonna prove it to you. You guys are there already in the chat. I want you guys to write in the chat a number from 1 to 6, random number, okay? When you're ready to go and put the random numbers. And in a moment, I'm gonna play a chord progression on that. Please, guys, one random number from 1 to 6, write it in the chat right now, okay? Come on, guys.
There's a little delay. There's a little delay.
Okay. In the meantime, I go ahead. The point is, any any order of those chords will sound good. I'm just playing random stuff right now. Very good. We have the first few numbers coming in. Okay, fantastic. So thank you guys. So you guys put a random number and they're coming in random order. So there is no way I could have predicted the exact sequence that comes in right now. So what I'm doing, I'm starting with C major, and then I'm playing the first 3 or 4 chords that I see there. The first number I see is the number 3. So the chord number 3 is E minor. Then I see number 5, which is G major. Then I see a 6, which is A minor. Good, that's my chord progression. So C to start and end. Boom. You have a song, right? I can take the next chords. I can take the next. The next sequence is interesting because it's in order. The next sequence is 4, 3, 2, and then I have a 1. Great. So I could do that. Start from C major always, then play the 4th chord, which is F, then the 3rd, which is E minor, then the 2nd, which is D minor, and then the 1st again, which is C. Just following the numbers in the chat. It works. I could go on and on and on and on. If you guys want to take the random numbers in the chat and use them for your own, or take any 3 consecutive numbers, first number it's 1, then put 3 random numbers, you have a chord progression that will work, and you can make a song with that. Easy as that, guys. Okay, now how many combinations there are? A lot. Okay, if you want to calculate them, be my guest. I'm not gonna do this right now. Actually, I can. It's easy. There are first chord is always 1. Second chord is you have 6 possibility. The next chord is a 6 possibility. The next chord you have 6 possibility. 6 times 6, 36 times 6, 216. Boom, or something like that. 200 or 196. Whatever. You can get the calculation. No problem. But okay.
I'm still reaching for my calculator. I haven't.
No. 216. Okay, yeah, 216 chord progression. You think they are enough to get started, guys? Or you want more? Okay, so you can create music with any of those chord progressions. So I'm doing this just to show you that even if we just stay with the simplest idea, so use chords in the key, you still have a ton, metric ton, a wagon, okay, of chord progressions that you can use. And before you start repeating yourself, you need to write around 200 songs. Not bad. Okay. Now, not all of those 216 chord progression will sound stellar. Some of them will sound meh. Maybe because they are not the mood you have in mind right now. Maybe because there are too many of the same kind of chord, like 1, 1, 1, 1. That would be a bit lame. Okay, but they're usable. Make sense so far? You can do this in any key. Now, if you're in a major key, I will use the first 6 chords. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because they're all major and minor. If you're in a minor key, things are a bit different, okay? The second chord is diminished, and we would like to avoid that. But we can use all the other ones. So we'll use the chord 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. But the deal is the same. If you want to do this by yourself, you can always get some flashcards like this and write on them 3, okay, or 5, or something else. Okay, and for the strange chords, I have another card. Let me show it to you so you know what to do. Where it is now. This card, if I am in major, I'm using the second chord. If I am in minor, I'm using the 7th chord. This card is here so that I avoid the diminished chord. Because the diminished chord is the 7th in major and the 2nd in minor, so this is the opposite. So whenever I get this card, I get the non-diminished chord in the other key. Just copy it. Okay, makes sense. You just mix those cards, shuffle those cards, and take out a few, like 6, 3, 5, 6, 3, 5. So I'm going to start with the first chord and 6, 3, 5. If I'm in major, 1, 6, 3, 5. If I was in minor, let me first reset your mind. I'm going to play something weird. Good. I'm going to go in A minor. The 1 is now the A minor. The 6 is the F. The 3 is the C. The 5 is E minor. I'm going to say again, just diatonic. So sorry. I should have gone to here. For some reason, it felt better to go to G. Anyway, make sense? Boom. You can write all the songs you want, and you just need some self-made flashcard that you can do in literally 5 minutes. Okay, that will be a starting point. Here already you have thousands of possible chord, not thousands, sorry, 200s of possible chord progressions that you can use. Then we can start thinking about doing something a bit more sophisticated, okay? The time you use with chord progressions in key is great because there's lots of good sound to be mined there. And maybe you discover that staying in key is everything you need to do for your music. Or later you can discover, no, you want to go out of the key. That's great. Most music stays in key, by the way. Okay, I mean, most modern music stays in key. Stranger enough, most classical music changes key all the time. Most classical modern music doesn't even have an idea what a key is. They play everything in a strange way. But most people don't listen to that music. Okay, imagine cats on pianos. That's being completely out of key all the time. So the idea of key is good because it helps you understand the music and helps the people who listen music to understand the music. Now, that said, could be fun every now and then to go out of key. And there are several different ways of doing that, okay? Several. But before you go out of key, let me interest you in something slightly different, okay? Let's say we stay in key, okay? Let's say we stay in key. We go this way, and we start from the first chord of the key, okay? And then we think about how the root of our chord going down a fifth every time. So we start from, let's say we are in C major. We start from a C major chord. Okay. Then we go down a fifth. Okay. Down a fifth means counting C, B, A, G, F. And the F is down a fifth. So you start from the root of the first chord you have, and you go down until you have you did all your fingers, and the pinky is down a fifth. So F. And you play that F chord, okay? Make sense? Then from there, you go down another fifth. F, E, D, C, B. We hit the B chord, which is a B diminished, but we're going to use it anyway, okay? It's really... We just play the notes in it. The notes in the B diminished chord are B, D, and F. And then go down again. So B, A, G, F, E. The E chord in C major is E minor. Okay, and then I keep going. I'll do it again. Okay, you guys have heard something like that before. This is called playing the circle of fifths. Okay, down a fifth, down a fifth, down a fifth, down a fifth every time. It's one of the most basic tricks, and it works every time. It doesn't matter where you play those chords. It doesn't matter the exact inversion, position, etc. It always works. Okay, and it sounds great. You can make it sound even better if you change the inversion of the chord. Okay, now I know I'm putting a lot on the table here, okay? So if you don't know those concepts, you'll have to allow me to do it. When we change the inversion of the chord, we just shuffle the order of the notes in the chord and we put a different note at the base. When I'm playing the chord in root position, I say I'm playing a C chord. When I'm playing it in root position, the C note is at the base of the chord. So the lowest note I play is the same note that gives the name to the chord. If I were to play the C major chord in first inversion, I will take the next note in the chord, C, E, so the E note, and I will put that note lower than all the other notes. That will get something like that. This chord, it's a C major in root position. This chord, it's a C major in first inversion because I'm putting the E note at the base. So it's the same notes, just shuffled around. Follow me so far, guys, more or less, okay? Here's the point. If I'm playing the progression I played before, the circle of fifth progression, the first chord, I'm playing it in root position. The second chord, I'm playing it in first inversion. And I alternate root position, first inversion, root position, first inversion. I get something that sounds better to my ears. Okay? That's the super basic explanation of these. There are a few more details. I have actually a video exactly on this sequence. So if you like what I just played, I'm gonna ask Tommaso to post this video in just a second. Yeah. So if you like what I just played, which I can play it again, okay, and you want to know exactly how I built it, there's the video in the chat right now. Okay, it's pretty, and you can totally take it to make your own songs. Okay. First of all, apparently you cannot copyright chord progressions. Don't take my word, I'm not a lawyer. Okay, but apparently you cannot copyright chord progression. But second, this chord progression has actually been written in the 1700s. Okay, so fat chance to copyright anything about that. It's totally in public domain. Okay, it's not a new chord progression, but it's pretty, and you can write a song with that. If it sounds too happy to you, it's because I played it in major. In the video, I also show how to play it in minor and create more tense version of this, and many of them will sound beautiful if you use this in pop or in jazz or in metal. Put some electric guitars on those, it's gonna sound great. Make sense? Okay, you can do this kind of game all the time. So you can take chords in your key and decide to go up a certain number or down a certain number, and then up a certain number or down a certain number again. Okay, you can always go up the same number or down the same number, or you can go up and down a different kind of numbers. For instance, you guys are all familiar with the Pachelbel's canon. Let me see if it's right. What comes next? I never remember. Okay, I always have to recalculate it from scratch because I don't remember. This. Okay. So how does it work? The chord progression, the original is in D, so we shift to D major. Okay, the chords are D, A, B minor, F sharp minor, G, D again, G, A. In numbers, so if we take the number of the root of the chord, it's 1, 5, 6, 3. Sorry, 6, 3. 4, 1, 4, 5. This is a chord sequence, meaning we establish a pattern and then we follow it up to a certain point. The pattern is going up a fifth and then up a second. So from the first note of the key, which is D, we go up a fifth this time. So we count up D, E, F sharp, G, A. So the first chord is D, the next chord is A, or the fifth. Then we go, from there, we go up a second. So A, B, a second, okay? So, which is a B minor because we're in the key of D major. From there, we go up another fifth. B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp. And the F sharp chord in the key of D major is F sharp minor. From there, we go up a second, F sharp, G. From there, we go up a fifth. So G, A, B, C sharp, D. And we are on D again. At this point, we break the sequence and we play a standard 4-5 to come back at the beginning. That's a trick people use. Whenever you want to come back at the beginning of the chord progression, play 4-5 or 2-5 before that, and it always takes you back. So this chord progression sounds so good because there is a structure behind. There is an idea behind, which is a chord sequence. So this going up a fifth, going up a second, going up a fifth, going up a second, going up another fifth, then 4, 5, and we come back. And we do it again, over and over, over and over and over. Is there anything special about the numbers 5 and 2? Not really. You can do any other number, okay? You can decide to go up a third and down a second. You can decide to go up a fourth and then up another fourth and then up a fifth. You can decide to, you can do whatever you want. If you keep doing this more than once, you create a pattern, the listener somehow feels it, okay? And the chord progressions sound great. And this also gives you chord progression that are longer than the usual 4-chord progression that are used most in music today. You can get chord progression of 8 chord long or 16 chord long, and you can make something longer that keeps sounding good, okay? And then you can just cut it at the end and put something to come back at the beginning, so like a 2-5 or a 4-5 in the key, okay? So that's an idea. Chord sequences, they work great. Am I making sense so far, guys? Again, we are still in key, okay? Still in key. Now, do we want to go out of key? There are several different ways, okay? If we want to go out of key now, the idea is this. Actually, what's the problem in going out of key? The problem is that when you are in key, your brain understands that all those notes are in the same scale. For some reason, your brain comes preloaded with the knowledge of the scales, major and minor and a few others, okay? Nobody really knows if you're born with it or if it happens because you listen to music when you are a little kid. Okay, they are still debating about that. Honestly, I don't care because it's not important. You are preloaded with scales. When I play chords in a scale, your brain somehow recognizes the pattern, okay, and goes like, yeah, I know that. It sounds clear. I have an idea I can follow. It's not random sounds. And if it's not random sounds, it's music. The moment you go out of key, your brain could be confused because now you are breaking that pattern, okay? And you're just contradicting what you told before to your brain that you were in key. So when you go out of key, you want to use sounds that your brain already know, okay? Think of it as words. If you put the letters in the correct order, you have actual words, and it doesn't matter if you listen to a new word, you can understand a new word being a word because it sounds like a word, okay? If I say chromatic and you never heard chromatic before, you understand that chromatic, it's a word, and I don't know what it means, but it's a word. There are some patterns in there, and you recognize it as something that makes sense, even if you don't know what's the meaning, and I can explain to you what chromatic means. But if I say okay, you're like, that's not a word. You just made it up. And I did, okay? So you guys want to use the equivalent of chromatic and not the equivalent of because the equivalent of okay, sounds like this. And that's not music anymore, okay? You want to use the equivalent of okay? And then maybe it sounds this way. Okay, and now I'm playing. I'm gonna just tell you what I just did. Okay, but this makes sense. This is music. I play it again. I can play it here. This makes sense. It's music. There's a meaning behind it. You may not know what I did, but you know that this makes sense, and your brain accepts it as music. What did I just do? What? And I went out of key, brutally out of key, by the way. So what did I just do? What is this magic? Okay, that's the trick. I'm playing diminished chord, fully diminished seventh chords. Okay, the diminished chord always have the same pattern. Okay, and the pattern for a diminished chord is something like that. It's a bit hard to see on the screen. Okay, but for the time being, trust me, I'm gonna put a video in the chat in a moment, but follow me for a moment. Okay, I'm playing diminished seventh chords. Every time I play a diminished seventh chord, I'm playing the diminished seventh chord that has the root 1/2 step below the next chord. Okay, so I'm starting from a D. My next chord would be A. Before that A, I'm playing a diminished chord with the root 1/2 step below. I don't need to calculate it in theory. I could. I know 1/2 step below A is G sharp, but I don't need to. I know that the chord is here. I know the root is here. I'm just putting down the shape for the diminished chord 1 fret below. I don't need to calculate it. So I'm playing D, and this chord, G sharp diminished seventh, then A. The next chord is going to be the B minor. I'm going to play I could play B minor here. I'm going to play the D diminished chord 1/2 step below. The next chord is F sharp minor. I'm playing the diminished chord 1/2 step below. The next chord is G. I'm going to play the diminished chord a half step below. Sorry. The next chord is D. I'm going to play the diminished chord a half step below, and so on and so forth. Okay, I can do this only once in the chord progression. I could do this on all the chords in the chord progression. It will sound good every time, and we are going out of key. It works because somehow in your brain you've heard or these or any other version of these. You've heard these already. You've heard this chord progression already. It's a common chord progression. And so when I play it, even if I play it on all the chords in the key, your brain somehow gets it. It's a pattern, you know, it accepts it, and it works. And this is going out of key. It's probably the easiest way to go out of key. Now, how do we do that? So let me, the chord. I'm going to ask Tommaso to put this video in the chat. The video that appears in the chat in a second is going to be the video on how to use diminished chords to go out of key, secondary diminished chords, exactly. Okay, so in the video, I explain everything in detail. I'm just showing you here that it works. On how it works, boy, we'll have to go down a little bit more. But at the beginning, you don't have to know exactly how it works. You can just know that it works and how to do it, right? And then later, once you get the sound, you can go like, okay, now why it works, how it works, and so. Make sense? If you guys are following me, say yay in the chat. If you guys are not following me, say nay or ask questions. By the way, I want you guys to ask a few questions in the chat. If you have questions, if you have any questions about what I'm saying or the general topic on how a songwriter can learn music theory or why a songwriter should know music theory, because we can answer them, okay? So go wild in the chat, no problem. Ask too many questions, we're gonna pick the best ones. Okay, no problem. Just ask questions. So far so good. That's one way to go out of key. Okay. Now, so at this point, the game, if you want, is to find all the patterns, or at least some other patterns that your brain can understand and I can attach to the chords that I have in a key so that I can go out of key. Okay, it's just a matter of what your brain understands, and it's not, of course, what your brain intellectually understands. It's just what kind of patterns and sound are preloaded into your brain, again, either from birth or because you were listening to music when you were a little child. Okay, and it's probably, again, I don't know which one it is. It's probably both, but we don't care, because the important point is to find out if they work or not. Okay, so when you think theory makes no sense, sometimes theory doesn't make any sense. The idea is that we are just trying to uncover patterns in your brain. So sometimes the mathematics of theory does not work out. That's why sometimes you have a genius idea that should work out in theory, then you play it and it sounds horrible, and that happens to a lot of musicians in the past. Okay, because your brain does not understand that pattern. It's like the word that we had before. I mean, in theory, it should work, but in practice, your brain is like, nope, not getting that one. Okay, so if sometimes theory seems arbitrary or strange, or you're asking yourself, why we're doing this? It's just, hey, we just found out this pattern works. If I play those notes or those chords in this order, your brains accept it. I didn't make the mess. I just found out that your brain works this way. Okay. And then that would be the first level. The second level would be, and when your brain accepts it, how does that make you feel? That's another important thing, because then if you can associate emotions or feeling to all those patterns, then you can start manipulating the chord progression to evoke specific emotion in the listener. Okay. Now, you can do this. You can understand this in a moment. The original chord progression I had was the sequence with the for the Pachelbel's canon. Okay. Then I added the second, the diminish chord, and it sounded this way. That's a different feeling, right? How would you describe that feeling? Because it's a different feeling. We can all agree it's a different feeling, but sometimes we don't agree exactly on what was the feeling at the beginning and what was the feeling at the end, and in what direction the change operated. Okay, if it's sadder or happier, more reflective, or all these kind of things. So you may want to just think about it for a moment and ask yourself, what's the difference in feeling? The first one makes me feel in a specific way. The second one makes me feel in another specific way. Okay, and then, so you can think, when I apply those extra diminished chord, this changes the chord progression in a specific way. Okay, and my feeling in a specific way. So far, so good, guys? I guess. Okay, so again, that's one way. But there are several other ways of changing, of adding chords or manipulating chords so that they sound good even if they're not in key. Okay. Again, some of them make more or less sense, and this one I just showed more or less makes sense. Hey, it's always the diminished chord 1 fret below, and it's a sound you know. Other seems to work because of magic reasons. For instance, one of them is the Neapolitan chord. I love the Neapolitan chord. It just sounds great. But to understand exactly, why it works, not as easy. So what's the Neapolitan chord? Well, let's say I am in A minor, okay? So that's my A minor key. I play the A minor, which is the first chord, the D minor, which is the fourth chord of that key. Then I played an E major, which is the fifth chord in the harmonic minor, in the A harmonic minor, because it gives me a better push to come back to the first. Okay, and I need to use the harmonic minor here if I want to use the Neapolitan chord in a moment. Okay, Neapolitan chord. So again, 1, 4, 5, 1 in A minor. The Neapolitan chord is the first inversion of the chord, it's the first inversion of the major chord, a half step above the root. Okay, let's break it down. Okay, so the Neapolitan chord. And by the way, if you are interested in that, and I'm going to put it in a moment, there's going to be the link in the chat right now. Tommaso already posted it. So the major chord, a half step above the root. A minor is the root, a half step is B flat, put a major chord, is B flat. Okay? If I play it this way, it already works. A minor, Neapolitan, B flat, fifth chord, which is E major, A minor. It already works. It already sounds good. This B flat, it's out of the key of A minor because it contains a B flat note, which is not in the key of A minor. Simple as that. It sounds even better if you put it in first inversion, which means rather than putting the B flat at the base, you put the B flat chord is B flat D F, you put the D at the base. So now, that's how it sounds. So, first, Neapolitan, E major, fifth, first. Let me compare this with first, fourth, 5, and first. So 1, 4, 5, 1, 1, Neapolitan, 5, 1. The sound is similar because the Neapolitan, because the fourth chord of the key is D minor, it's D, F, A, and the Neapolitan with the D in the bass, it's D, F, B flat. There is just a little note change. Okay, now why that specific little note change works and why it sounds so good, that will take a little bit more. It's in the video. Okay, but we can use the Neapolitan chord to create, as a chord out of key that works perfectly and adds a lot of tension. When I play it this way, it's very plain, it's very basic, it's very direct, so it may sound good to you or not. But this is Another Day by Dream Theater. It's a chord progression. Sorry to use a straight copyright song here, okay? I want to see if the YouTube picks up if you use a chord progression using another song. This chord progression seems hard to analyze. First of all, because it's in G sharp minor, and most people don't know the G sharp minor key really well because most people study the key of A minor, the key of E major, and all this kind of thing. But basically, that's the first chord, which you add the flat 6 just for flavor. And then there's the 7th key of the chord, which is major. The 6th, the 3rd, the Neapolitan chord. Then they go to the 5th, to the 7th again. Rather than going to the 5th. You see how this flows perfectly well. You don't even realize that this is out of key. It just flows, okay? It just flows. Don't even realize it's out of key. It's a Neapolitan chord, okay? So if you use it, and the chord progression is a bit longer than just 1 Neapolitan 5, okay? It flows better, it sounds good, it just goes in, and you don't even realize you were going out of key. But it sounds good, and it has a dramatic impact anyway, because, I mean, if you listen again to this chord progression, you feel how it tends to push you back. It pushes you back to the first chord of the key, and it's kind of a deep in feeling, okay? I mean, that's how I feel it. It's like the emotion is here, and it deeps, gets sadder suddenly, and then you go back to the first chord of the key. That's how I feel it. You guys can have a slightly different feeling about that, but it's a specific feeling. That's the feeling of the Neapolitan chord, okay? Now, I've explained to you guys the Neapolitan chord in 5 minutes, 7 minutes, something like that. If you study a book on music theory, the Neapolitan chord is typically toward the end of the book, and they tend to put a whole chapter on that, and they explain to you 1 or 2 ways of using it for the whole frigging chapter, because they spend a lot of time trying to justify that B flat note that is going out of key. Or they tend to spend a lot of time giving you a number of different situations where this has been used in Baroque music. I mean, if you want to write Baroque music, that's great. Okay, no problem, but not all of us want to do that. And they tend to make a big deal out of it, like it's a complex chord. And guys, it's not a complex chord, it's a major chord. Okay, really, not that hard. I prefer, and you should prefer as songwriter, to understand that something works and how to put in practice in your songs, rather than understanding the whole theoretical reason of why it works. I'm not saying this other thing is not important. It is important and it is interesting, because when you understand why it works, then you can invent new things following that basic principle, which is fantastic. But you cannot even imagine to go there until you can use the basic situation. Okay, when you just go, that's a Neapolitan chord, let me write a chord progression with a Neapolitan chord. Until you cannot do that and do it this way, like, of course I know what a Neapolitan chord is, I just need to put it down on paper and play it. Don't even try to understand the complex situation. Okay, it's just wasted effort at that point. Things needs to be done the right order. Most music theory books or courses or university courses do not do things in the right order. Okay, they do things in the order that it's easier to explain for the teacher. Okay, but not the order that is good for you as a student. Okay, makes sense? What can we do next? Thing is, there are lots of possibilities. Okay.
Maybe, Doctor, maybe the topic of modulations that are sequenced modulations might be a little bit more sophisticated topic for those who have a pretty good understanding of theory. And
yes,
this may be new to them.
Totally. And I have a video here, but you have it, so you can post it. What's the idea? The idea is that every now and we've wrote something in key. Okay, we like to stay in key. But every now and then it's nice to change key. So the idea is that you have a starting key and then a rival key. Okay, so I could start, say, in C major, but then I want to, I don't know, land in another key, E minor. Okay, so I want to start in C major, play something in C major, then I want to play something. After this something, I want to be in E minor and play something in E minor. And this something should do a few things. Should take me from C major to E minor without making me feel like you jerk me out of C major and slam me in E minor. And maybe it should also be musically pleasant. I mean, because a lot of people, those things that take you from one key to another are called modulations. And lots of people attack the idea of modulation in a very technical way, like, I want a chord progression that takes me from here to here. But guys, we are playing music not to make mathematics or technical thing. We are playing music. We want to play something good. Okay, we want to evoke emotion. So one way is this. You take a sequence like the one I showed you before. So remember, I showed you this sequence here, which is the circle of fifth. The circle of fifth when you alternate root position chord and first inversion chord. You can take any other sequence. You could take the sequence of Pachelbel's canon, which is only in root position. No problem. Take a sequence like that. Okay, but the chords move always in the same way. Okay. The idea now will be, rather than just staying in key, oops, sorry. Okay. You gradually change the notes in the chords you play so that you get closer to the next key, the key you want to go in. And at a certain point, you're going to hit either the 1, the 4, or the 5 of the next key. So you're going to play that chord. And at that point, you just play a 4-5-1 or a 2-5-1 in the new key, and you are in the new key. So let me show you. I'm starting with this C major. The next chord in my progression will be this, will be an F. And I'm actually playing an F major 7th. So I have A, F, and E right now. Don't worry about the 7th, it's not important. In the key of C major, I have no sharp and flat. In the key of E minor, I have F sharp. And then it's desirable to have the D sharp because that pushes me toward the E note. Okay. So rather than playing this natural F, I'm going to play an F sharp. It sounds natural. The original was this. The new one is this. It's such a subtle change. You don't even register it. There is a shift, but it's minimal. The next chord I play, it's a B chord. Remember, the original chord progression was C major, F major, B diminished, E minor. Now I have C major, this other thing, which is an F, where I just push the F sharp up. Then I would have a B chord, and why don't I play immediately a B major chord, and then end in E minor. So, imagine I have a piece of music. This piece of music starts in C major, and play something in C major. At a certain point, I play a sequence, and I play the sequence just in C major. I'm still in C major. Then I'm playing the sequence again, but now I'm playing it and modifying it to get to E minor. And then in E minor, I can play something in E minor. And stay in E minor. And I just use this sequence to change from C major to E minor. Okay, it's just, I have a pre-made chord progression, and I'm just changing notes until I hit E minor. Now, if you wanted a short modulation, that worked. Okay, so again, I'm in C major. And now I'm in E minor. You wanted a longer modulation, this is too fast, you want to draw it out a little bit. Keep going with the chord progression, right? Maybe now I'm in A minor. The A minor is the 4th of the next key of D minor. And then I add a 4, 5, 1. And now I'm in E minor. Okay, so now the modulation is this. I was in C major. And I'm in E minor. Okay. So I'm just piggybacking on this chord progression, changing chords a little bit, just to get closer to the next key. And again, whenever I hit a 5 or a 4 or a 1 in the next key, I'm just playing a 4, 5, 1 or a 2, 5, 1 in the next key, which is a cadence. And I am in a new key. I can do this with any key. Okay, now, if the key is close right now, there's only one sharp of difference, it's easy. If the key is further away, this may become a little bit more drawn out. Okay, so imagine I want to go from here to, say, A flat major. That's a pretty distant key, okay? So I can go... Actually, let's do it this way. I should be here. Okay, so ripartiamo. Let's start again. And I'm in C major. And I'm in A flat. Okay,
That's
yes?
a really cool point. I wanted to just add one thing. I want to make sure that everyone listening doesn't miss the critical thing that you said earlier. When most songwriters think about modulating and changing keys to get from key 1 to key 2, they're usually looking for a way to smoothly connect key number 1 with the 1 chord of whatever the new key is going to be, key number 2. And what Dr. Zillio had just explained, and he said it a couple of different times, was that you don't have to worry about connecting key number 1 to the root chord or to the 1 chord of the new key. Okay, so in his examples, you could find a smooth transition from the first key to, let's say, the 4 chord of key number 2 or the 5 chord of key number 2. There are other alternative options as well, but 1, 4, and 5 tend to work very, very well, tend to be smoother. So this opens up a lot of doors, because sometimes it can be either challenging to find a smooth transition between key 1 and the root chord of key 2, or you find yourself doing similar modulating sequences to get from key 1 to key 2, because you're always trying to make it smooth into the 1 chord. But as soon as you realize that you can find a way into the 4, and then from there, the 4 chord of the new key, continue on in that key until you eventually get back to 1, that opens up so many doors compositionally, so many different ways to modulate, or different alternatives, and to keep things smooth with a lot of variety and a lot of interest. So I just wanted to make sure that nobody really missed that among all the other things that you were saying, Tommaso. That's all.
So that's the idea. You just change the thing gradually until you get to the new key. And you can do this with any 2 keys. Of course, the more sharps or flats you have to change, the usually longer is the modulation, because you need to change more things. Then again, it depends on you. If you want to change a lot of notes fast, so you have a very fast modulation, or if you want to change just a few notes smoothly, little, and then you have a very long modulation that eventually takes you to the new key. Completely up to you, because it depends on the song, the mood you want to give, your personal taste. Okay. Again, I have a link on the sequence modulation there, which gives you a start on those things. And the details are there, and there are plenty of examples in there, so you guys have an idea on how that works. Those are just a few things we can do as songwriters. Okay, now the thing is, if we had to do everything we could do, we'd stay here hours and hours and hours and hours. Okay, why? Because it is hard? No, it's because there are so many possible ways. Okay, each one with their own sound. You can borrow chords from another scale. So you have here in C major, you can borrow chords from C minor. You can use what we call secondary dominants, which is borrowing a 5-to-1 from a different key. You can use a first inversion chord, second inversion chord, third inversion chords, and borrow other stuff with that. You can use what we call augmented sixth. You can use negative harmony. Guys, the thing is, the list is so long that every time you think you got stuck writing music, you just need to learn another approach, and you get a whole fresh perspective on the whole thing. And you can keep doing this over and over and over. So let me tell you this. People always get scared by how many things there are to learn in music theory. That's not the most constructive approach. Okay? My approach is this. There are so many things that in a lifetime, nobody can play all the possible combination. Nobody can learn all the possible concepts. Nobody can literally master everything there is in music theory. It's too vast. It's too big for a single brain to take in a single lifetime. The more you study, the more possibilities you see. But that's great, because it means that in your lifetime, you will never run out of fresh ideas to learn. people always think I need to master something before I write a song. The reality is that take whatever you know right now and write. Doesn't mean you don't have to study. Keep studying. Okay. Doesn't mean that you don't have to learn anything new. Keep learning something new. But take whatever you have right now and write with what you know. And then learn new things. And then when you learn one new thing, try to apply it immediately in your writing. And this gives you new fuel, okay, to move forward. New ideas, new stuff, fresh stuff you can do in your chord progressions, in your songs, etc. Maybe you like this idea and this becomes part of your style. Maybe it's just a temporary thing. Maybe you try it and you don't like it. No problem. Toss it away. Go on to the next idea. Okay, simple as that. You're going to find a set of ideas that sound exactly like you want. The set of ideas is not the same for everybody. You make your own style, in a sense, by deciding, I like better to borrow chords from another key rather than using secondary dominants. Totally legit, or vice versa. Totally legit. But you learn all those ideas, you try them out, and again, you don't have to learn all the theoretical justification. Just learn operationally what you need to do to create a sound with this idea. See if you like it. If you like it, study in depth. Don't like it, go on the next idea. Maybe in future you come back to the original idea, no problem. But don't worry if you don't master everything. Okay? Oh, there's a great question there, Thomas. I wanna answer that. Like, that's great, but how did John and Paul write the most amazing song at such young age and without struggling? Guys, whoever said they didn't struggle? Okay, I mean, it's actually the stories with John Lennon and Paul McCartney struggling or fighting with each other when they were writing a song are legendary. What does it mean not struggling? Come on. Whenever you create something, it's never easy. Okay, you write it, you don't like it, you change it again, you make it first, slower, stronger, smaller, longer, whatever. You change it. The working title for Yesterday was Scrambled Eggs. They went on with the songs for weeks and weeks and weeks until, because Paul McCartney wanted to slowly carve out every single ounce of emotion, until one morning John Lennon got fed up of this. That's a legend. Sat at the piano, played at twice the speed and said, that's how it works. And that's the version you know. So the original version of Yesterday was called Scrambled Egg and was half the speed. Okay? And that idea came only after weeks and weeks and weeks. And then we can go on and on and on. But guys, remember, in Hey Jude, they say, take a bad song and make it better. Where do you think they got the inspiration? Okay. They were struggling. And by the way, also, they tell you the Beatles did not know any theory. They did. Okay. Beatles not allowed to read music. They both were accomplished piano players. Come on, guys. Let's be real here, okay? They knew what they were doing. They didn't knew it always in academic jargon. Maybe they did not know that Neapolitan chord was called Neapolitan. Well, who cares? They knew that you could put a chord in that position, and that's enough.
Yeah, if you look at the voice leading for Blackbird, it's perfect. It's a perfect example of voice leading. So it's not very sophisticated, but it follows essentially all the voice leading rules. I hate to use that term, but it's a good example. You wouldn't just stumble upon that if you didn't know how music theory worked. That's the first thing I wanted to say. And then the second thing is, how else can we know that Paul McCartney and John Lennon and those guys struggled? Simple. Ask yourself, how many Beatles albums are there? And as soon as you come up with the number and you realize how many years did they know each other and were they writing, you see, if they didn't struggle, they should have like 75 albums, 10 songs each, but they don't. There's your sign that there was work involved. Yeah. So, and they weren't writing very sophisticated music, but still there was struggle. I mean, to write a good pop song, even using formulas, and formulas didn't really exist then the way they do today. Still, it's not a simple thing. As Tommaso says, if you don't believe it, try it.
But both of them were avid listeners of classical music, for instance. I mean, and they admitted to it. The Blackbird you mentioned, it's mostly parallel tenths, and I don't know the song by heart, but it's mostly parallel tenths, and that's a trick that has been used from the Renaissance to create music. It's called a faux bourdon. Okay, and there is a name. There are manual in the 1600s saying it. That's how you sing it. Okay, I'm not saying Paul McCartney or John Lennon knew that those manual existed, that it was called faux bourdon, but the music is there. You listen to it, you absorb it. Okay, so that's
one other thing. Before we start wrapping up here,
yes.
One other thing I wanted to add to what you were talking about, Dr. Zillio, you were giving your advice and insights on taking music theory and using it and applying it, and how there's so much that is possible to learn and so many combinations of ways to integrate and apply what exists that you take your whole life to do that. But I don't think that the most useful goal or objective is to learn everything that there is, but is to become fluent enough with what it is that you are knowing, and then add another piece and become fluent with that, and add another piece and become fluent with that. And the best way to become fluent isn't to sit there with a textbook and go thumbing through pages and memorize it all. It's to take it, learn some, take a course, do exercises, and then apply. And every time you try to apply it, because you're going through the motions of going through the application, whether it's an exercise or you're trying to use it in songwriting or whatever it is, you internalize that information. And then the next time when you want to use that concept somewhere creatively or whatever, you can do so much faster because you've gone through it. If you just read about it or watch videos about it, when then you go to your guitar or you go to the keyboard or you try and write music, it's a very inefficient use of time because you haven't yet internalized the application and the integration of the ideas. So that's why, and I'm not here to pump Tommaso's course here, but he's got a couple of really awesome courses on music theory for guitar, but it's not necessarily that the content is so great. I mean, of course it is. It's Dr. Zillio. Of course it's great. That's not my point. My point is that it's taking information, using it on the guitar so that you internalize what it is that you're learning. So whether some of you I know are students of his course, because I know who you are. Some of you are not and may never be, and that's fine too. But whatever you learn, whether it's guitar technique, music theory, ear training, songwriting, whatever, internalize. And the best way to internalize is by application, exercises, application, and integration. You will have a much deeper understanding and become fluent. And then you're able to use those ideas at rapid speeds. You won't be sitting there stuck making calculations and having to get out a piece of paper and figure that out and go review stuff. You'll just know. And that's where you want to get to. Because when you get to that point, you are then free. The more fluent you are, the more free you are to express yourself, whether it's improvising, writing songs, just playing guitar, having fun. It opens up so many doors. If you think playing guitar and writing music is fun now, wait until you become more fluent. The fun just goes off the charts. You're gonna want to put a ring on the guitar and marry it. That's how awesome it is. Maybe not that crazy, but you get the idea. All right, rant over.
It is perfectly true. It is perfectly true. Nothing, nothing to change or to something to add, but nothing to change. I mean, it's the thing is that two things. First of all, what we call music theory today was not called theory originally. It was actually just called music, and it was always taught with an application. That's the idea. Let's sit at the piano or grab the guitar and play it. Okay. But the other thing is, second, the original aim of all those tricks was to make them available for improvising. People were improvising with chord progression and melody at the same time, usually at the piano, but the guitar is a perfect instrument for this too. And all those tricks like the secondary dominant or the diminished chord, etc., were meant so that you have material to throw at your improvisation. And so, I mean, the idea that today we have to sit down, calculate the chord progression, or we want to write a counterpoint, and counterpoint is like 40 rules, and you have to follow them all. That's completely a later addition to the original way we taught music, which was forget about the rules, play something, let's see how it goes, and then let's fix it if you want and make it better and better and better and better. Okay, theory is done here. Okay, when I play those sequences, I'm not thinking what notes I'm playing. I'm thinking directly on the fretboard. I have an idea on where I want to land, and I'm getting there. So I trained all those things directly on the fretboard. You guys can do it too.
Awesome. Doctor, I believe you may have something available for free for people to check out and download. Would you like to maybe discuss?
I do. So I have a free ebook, and yes, that's it. It's an ebook on how to learn the notes on your fretboard. Now, what is the number one waste of time that people have when they are trying to apply the music theory on the guitar fretboard? Number one waste of time that plagues you every single moment when you try to apply this. And the thing it's knowing what are the notes on your guitar. If I'm telling you to play a C major chord and you know the notes are C, E, G, how much time it takes for you to find a C, a G, and an E in different positions so that you can play it without having to spend loads of time calculating it where the notes are. Okay. The thing is this is obstacle number one. The moment you learn anything in music theory, if then you have to spend all the time finding out all the notes, calculating them from the open string, etc., you are doomed because it takes too much time and it's going to discourage you completely. The only way to go through this is to learn your notes so that you just know where they are. Is it possible? Not only it's possible, it's easy, okay? And you can do it by taking this ebook here and following the exercises. You invest 5 minutes a day for a few weeks, not years, for a few weeks, 5 minutes a day doing the exercise in this ebook, and you will know all the notes on your fretboard like they are written on the frets. Okay, you will know exactly where to find all the notes. It will be instant recall of where the notes are, zero effort in remembering where they are. Okay, you just need to get this ebook, which is free, completely free, and do the exercises. No more, no less. Just do it. It will make you a much better musician and will make everything else easier.
Very cool. And that is completely free. That's awesome. That is awesome. I also have some stuff for you guys. This is also free. And this is more geared for people who are either playing in bands or playing gigs or want to in the future. So one of the things that I hear all the time from musicians is that it's a real struggle to find lots of good paying gigs, and that the venue owners are not booking any new bands and they're not paying much, and they have a hard time getting gigs and then making real money from those gigs. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to show you in this free e-guide, it's totally free, no strings attached, just download it. Okay, is the top 3 reasons why musicians struggle to get gigs in the first place and how to make yourself immune to those issues. Then I'm going to talk to you about what venues or booking agents and music fans really want from you and how to give it to them. I'm going to give you 8 killer ideas to get more people to come to your shows and help you make more money and make you loved by the club owners and booking agents. And there's a whole bunch of other things in there too relating to this topic. So if you are interested now or in the future of getting more playing gigs, getting more gigs, making more money in those gigs, and getting more new gigs, download this e-guide. It's totally free. Okay, cool. So, Doctor, thank you for hanging out here today with us and all of the awesome insights. I know that some of the things, we couldn't go or you couldn't go into exhaustive detail just because of time restraints, but we put a bunch of links in the chat. So if you guys came a little later or you missed those, just scroll up and you can see those links to some of Dr. Tommaso Zillio's other videos that go into more in-depth, more examples and more, major keys, minor keys, a lot of great stuff. So check that stuff out too. And obviously it's free. So Thank you, everybody who is hanging out with us today. Thank you, Dr. Zillio, always for your awesome insights. Appreciate you being here. Thank you, everybody. Have a super awesome day. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.